If you don't find a way to recognize when you're driven by need-based motivation versus want-based motivation, and then number two, be okay with wanting things that you technically don't need, till you have those two mindset shifts made, you're going to struggle from time to time. You're going to struggle to keep that motivation, to find that motivation, to justify why to continue serving more and more people with your business. That's your calling. Okay, that's at least my calling. Is to help people build businesses of freedom and impact. How do you reignite your energy, your motivation to build your business or to serve when you already have everything you need? You already have all your bases covered with your food and water and shelter, and you've hit a lot of those early goals, and now you're just sitting there going, man, I don't find that fire in there anymore. What do you do? Well, I'm going to talk about needs versus wants, need motivation versus want motivation in this episode of the Trevor Truck Talk. I'm actually driving back right now from the Eugene airport, and I was down in Phoenix, Scottsdale with my coach, Dan Martell, for the last few days. I did a bunch of podcasts down there with guys like Steve Trang and Brent Daniels and other people as well. And we talked deeply on day 2 about needs versus wants, about money mindset issues. And I'm a guy who historically has always said, I don't have any money mindset issues, right? I've done well with money. I've saved money over the years. I'm not compulsive with money. And when a guy named Mike Brown, a guy who has grown a pretty darn big company, exited, then lost almost all of his money, then he built it back up. When he was there speaking, he asked us about, what money mindset models do we have that are deep within us that might be holding us back in life, that might be kind of keeping us where we are. So we're going to talk in this episode a little bit about some money mindset models. One of the ones I'm going to share with you for me, and I want you guys to think about it too. I'll do another one even more deep in a future episode about money mindset models. Okay. So this episode, guys, we're going to talk need versus want motivation, needs versus wants. And at what point do you start to shift your motivation from need-based motivation to want-based motivation? Because if you don't, and I'm going to warn you right here, if you don't find a way to recognize when you're driven by need-based motivation versus want-based motivation, and then number 2, be okay with wanting things. Be okay with wanting things that you technically don't need. And that was a hard one for me, and I'm gonna walk you through why here in a second. But until you have those two mindset shifts made, you're going to struggle from time to time. You're going to struggle to keep that motivation, to find that motivation, to justify why to continue serving more and more people with your business. And I think it's important that you do find that motivation to serve more and more people with your business. That's your calling. Okay, that's at least my calling, is to help people build businesses of freedom and impact. Why is that? Well, maybe I'll talk about it on this episode, maybe not. But let's talk about needs versus wants first, okay? So I'm going to break it down starting with needs. And if you guys have not heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, just go to Google and search it up. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I'm not going to get all this 100% correct, but I'm going to walk you through what Maslow said the natural human needs are. And I want you to kind of track as I'm going through this, because you're going to hear, I think, where and recognize where you've had motivations that have driven you, and probably recognize where you might be stopping right now. Okay, so at the very bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is basically food, water, shelter, right? It's the basics. It's we're not going to go try to buy the fancy car or go for self-actualization if we don't even have food, right? So if you can imagine people, whether it's here in the United States or overseas, there's people who wake up every single day without knowing where their next meal is going to come from. And many of us on this call may not be able to relate to that. I know I can't relate to that. And that's something that I'm very, very grateful. I hit the lottery for where I was born and who I was born to, and just really had a chance. It's not that our family didn't struggle. We did. I remember my dad losing his job multiple times. I remember and being unemployed. I remember my parents having to start businesses just with their bootstraps to put food on the table. I remember the businesses struggling for years. I remember employees stealing from them hundreds of thousands of dollars. I remember a business partner literally swindling my dad of part of the partnership, and just completely being you're just not being upstanding with this. We went through hard times, but we've never been without food. Okay. So if you can imagine that, if that's where you're waking up every day, that you don't have food, you don't have water, what is it that you're going to think about? What is it that's going to drive you? You're going to do everything in your power to get water and food that day. Okay, you're going to do anything you need to do, and you're probably not thinking much past today, right? You're probably not thinking a whole lot about, man, I wonder where my life's going to be in 10 years or 20 years, or really dreaming. You're probably thinking about today. You're probably thinking about tomorrow, maybe next week or a couple weeks out. And I can't say for sure because I've never been there, but this is just my assumption, right? And so once you get that taken care of, once you get food and water taken care of, then it's like you're going to then go, well, how can I get better food, healthy food, and clean water, right? But then it's shelter. It's okay, I'm surviving on the daily basis, but maybe I don't have shelter yet. Then the next thing you're going to do is go seek out shelter. Okay, the shelter at the start might be very, very basic. It might even be a tent. It might still be outside. It might be wherever, but you've got some sort of shelter. Okay, so then from there, it's safety. The next rung up on Maslow's hierarchy needs is safety. And so once we have food, water, and shelter taken care of, those are the things that are driving our motivation in those early days. And the closer we are to the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the closer to us in time-wise that we think. We don't think out on a very, very long time horizon when we're towards the bottom of those needs. It's very acute daily needs. Okay, so now you've got the basics of all those. But now we want safety. So let's say that your water is not healthy. Let's say that the shelter, the place that you live is not safe. Maybe you even have four walls and you have a house. It's an apartment, but the neighborhood is really unsafe. You don't feel like you can walk down the street. Or maybe there was a nuclear reactor 5 miles from town, and you're afraid that it's gonna leak and there's gonna be some issues there. Or heaven forbid, right now, there's wars going on all around the world, and we're seeing every night in the news what's happening. What's happening in places like Ukraine and Russia, and what's happening in Israel and Gaza, and just some really, really challenging places among a gazillion other places that have wars going on right now. So let's say at one time your shelter was good and it was safe, but now it's not. Well, your biggest motivation is going to be to move, to find new shelter, to find a new place that's giving you safety. Okay, let's say you're in a relationship that's dangerous. You have food, you have water, you have shelter, but you don't feel like you're safe. It could be a parent, it could be a friend, it could be a spouse. And that's probably all that's on your mind every day is, how do I escape this situation? That's what's driving you. Okay. And once again, guys, I can't relate to these issues. So if you have gone through this before and I'm off a little bit, just bear with me or hit me up on Instagram and let me know how that experience was for you. Because I'd love to learn for sure. And also just really want to let you guys know that I care for you. And I'm sorry if you did go through one of these tough situations. So now let's say you've got those taken care of. Okay. You don't have those motivations anymore. And now it's belonging. You're going after a sense of belonging. And I'm going to tell you guys why this matters here in a second to you in business. Okay. It's very, very key. So just play along with me here. Okay. It's crazy important to understand need-based motivation versus want-based motivation, and how to actually switch to want-based motivation. Okay. So then you're going after belonging. Okay. You're safe. You have food, you have water. But one of the greatest things in life, I remember listening to this study years ago, and this study was one of the longest running studies done in America. And this study was with, I think it was, 75, 100, something like that, people back in the 1920s, 1930s. And they're from people from all different classes of life, okay, different races, different economic classes, people that were blue collar workers in the factories, people that went to Harvard and Yale, and they turned into attorneys or bankers. And they followed these people for, I think it was 75 years. And the whole aim of it was to interview these people every so often, every 5 or 10 years, and figure out how they're doing. How are you doing financially? How are you doing happiness wise, fulfillment? How are you doing health wise? And the number one indicator of people that were the happiest, most joyful, and that tended to live the longest was belonging. Was they had friends, they had people that they could count on. They had a rich social life. They had family that they loved. They had friends that they were with oftentimes, and it had nothing to do with money. Okay, the people that had the most money but did not have strong friend circles actually weren't happy. They weren't happy at all. They were always continually trying to prove to people their worth from their financial prowess, right? So belonging is crazy important. Actually, after health, and actually belonging helps to prolong health, but after health, it seems like it's one of the most important things that actually gives us happiness, joy, and longevity in our lives. So we go after belonging. What's belonging look like? Well, it is family that loves us, that we consistently are able to see and spend time with. It's friends. It's people. Guys, there's a big reason why over the last couple of years I've been really pushing what I call blank plus fellowship. If you've been following me on IG, guys, go find me on Instagram, trevor.mauch. That's MAUCH. Go follow me over there. And I'm always posting my blank plus fellowship things, okay? Fitness and fellowship. I don't like working out alone. I like working out with my buddies. And we get to talk about life, business. They're all entrepreneurs, the ones who come to our gym to work out. We get to talk about faith. And when we're having a hard time, we talk about those things, okay? So blank plus fellowship. Fitness and fellowship, faith and fellowship. So don't go alone on your faith journey. The Bible actually even calls us to be a part of church. And I'm not talking about church as in a denomination or church as in a building. Church as in the people. The people are the church. Okay, the people, the body is the people, not a building, not a denomination. And so the people and gathering with people is very, very important in the Christian faith, and I think in other ones as well. And so when we try to go it alone, we actually are stunting our growth in that area. So blank plus fellowship is crazy critical. So now what happens, guys, after we start to build fellowship, we build community, we work our butts off to serve other people and build a loving group of people that we love and love us. Okay, what happens after that? Then, and I might be skipping one here, but I'm pretty sure now it's self-actualization. If I'm skipping one, guys, hit me up on Instagram and let me know. I don't have it in front of me. I'm driving. But it's self-actualization. Now, what is self-actualization? Okay, we're safe. We have food, water, shelter. We have some sort of belonging. And we want to contribute to the world, right? We want to contribute and be able to actualize our potential. We want to be able to actualize the potential that God gave us here in this earth to go serve others. We want to be able to, as my friend Seth would say, chase for our potential, not reach it. We never want to reach our potential, right? When we reach our potential, that means we've stopped growing. That means we're not growing anymore. We have no more left to grow. We've reached our pinnacle. So I never want to reach my potential. I want to reach for it. Then I want to continually raise the bar in the areas that matter most in life. Okay, so self-actualization is the reaching for that potential. It's really challenging yourself in big ways. It's finding yourself. It's learning how to be rather than just do, right? And that's crazy important because now you have the ability to not just chase after these needs that you have, these acute needs that are at the very bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Those needs actually are to keep you alive, with that food, water, shelter, safety. And then up above that, it's actually not just to keep you alive, but it's to connect you with the greater being. And then up above that, it's not even just to connect you to the greater being, but it's to serve the greater being and to really reach for your potential. Okay. So what happens, guys, along the way as entrepreneurs is once we get our needs, our basic needs taken care of, we oftentimes go astray. And this is where I find a lot of people that we're working with in our EPIC program, a high-level coaching program that I run. If you guys are interested in being coached by me personally in our insanely high-level group, and I say that not to scare anyone off, but to show that there's qualifications. This group is amazing. But if you're making at least $300,000 a year, join the group. We have two different amazing groups in there: the 300,000 to $1 million, then $1 million to 10 million plus. Okay. And both groups are amazing. Once you go from the 300,000 million group, then you'll graduate up to the higher level group. And both groups are absolutely amazing, where we coach people through the mindset, the leadership, how to build teams, how to buy back your time, how to delegate effectively, how to scale your business, how to put the right processes in place, how to structure your schedules, how to plan a life vision, all those types of things from the program. Okay. So when I'm talking to people in the program, where most people tend to get burnt out, where most people tend to kind of get lost in their way and they're not really liking their business anymore, is they've realized, I don't really need anything else that I don't already have, right? I'm making some good money. I'm making a few $100,000 a year. I'm making $1 million a year. I've got a house that I like. Maybe I want a bigger house a little bit, but I don't need one, right? And I've got a car, and maybe I'd love a Lambo or something, but man, I don't really need one. And then we start to justify, I have all these needs and I've got some wants, but do I deserve going after those wants? Like, should I even want more? Is that selfish of me to want more than I currently have if all my needs are taken care of? And that's where I'm going to spend the rest of the time on this podcast, walking you through the want side of it, because that's honestly a part that I've had to wrestle with over the years, is asking that question. Why do I want more than I already have? I already have a nice house. Why would I want more than that? Why would I want to build rip down our existing guest house and build a new one that has a gym and an office? And why would I want that? I don't need it. Should I be using that money for something else? Should I use that money to, give more to the charities we already give to? Should I use that money for something else, right? And so I'll walk you through how I have started to think about this and the challenges I've had, because it might relate to you. And hopefully this can help you shift effectively from need-based to want-based, okay? So I'm talking to everyone who is already making, let's say, a couple $100,000 a year, maybe $100,000 a year, depending on what it is, but you've got food, water, shelter taken care of, okay? You have started to build some sort of group or fellowship. If you have not built that yet, I can guarantee y'all, buying all the things in the world, the fanciest car in the world, the best house in the world, will not give you what you want in life if you do not build community, if you do not build fellowship. So I want you right now to hang up this podcast episode and figure out the best way this coming year to build community and fellowship. Is it joining a church? Is it joining an entrepreneur group? Is it starting your own group? Is it, whatever it is, reach out to 3 of your friends locally, reach out to a potential mentor or 2, start to build fellowship before you even listen to the rest of this. Okay. So let's now assume that you have fellowship and community. So one of the things I want you to think about, and I'm going to read this passage from, this is actually from the book, 10X is Easier Than 2X. This is in my Life Truths. And it's want versus need. Okay. I've talked about 2X versus 10X thinking in here, and this is very, very aligned with this. Entrepreneurs who operate out of need won't accomplish 10X goals because no one needs to reach them. Right? You can survive just fine on a 2X lifestyle. 10X goals are highly personal and highly personal achievements that you want to make. So let me kind of read that again. Entrepreneurs who operate out of need, okay, out of need versus want, won't accomplish 10X goals because no one needs to reach them. You can survive just fine on a 2X lifestyle. So let me kind of go back into my own life, my own story, and show you how I've waded through this myself. So there's a few different times during this. Okay, the first one is probably back during let's say 2006, 2007. I graduated college in 2006 and set out on my entrepreneur journey in 2007 that failed miserably in the early years. But I had to learn so much. And that motivation for me was need-based motivation. Okay, I was making no money, and any money was better than no money. And I had $2,000 in the bank when we moved up to Portland. I had a credit card, and my wife was going to school to get her master's degree, so she wasn't able to work. It was more than full-time on her schedule. So we got an apartment in Beaverton, Oregon. I think if I remember right, it was $650 a month or so. And I tried everything I could do to try to make some money to pay our bills. By the end of that first year, we went in $16,000 in credit card debt because rent isn't free, gas isn't free in Portland, food isn't free in Portland. And we traveled back and forth between our parents about 6 hours away, probably a couple times a quarter. And we also had to pay for my wife's school. And so we went in $16,000 credit card debt. I had a need to not get evicted from my home. I had a need to figure this thing out so we didn't have to eat ramen every day anymore. I had a need to go, I want security for my wife and I, so we can actually have four walls that we are more secure in, that we can have more consistent, ability to make sure that we're buying the food and water that we want. And then we're not going in debt so we lose all this soon. All right, so that need motivated the heck out of me. But once I got to about 2012 and I learned how to build businesses at the small level, I learned how to get from 0 to 300,000 and even a little bit above that. But I didn't figure out how to get to $1 million by that point. Now, here's why. Because once I started to make a few hundred grand and I was netting, let's say 150, I was making way more than all my friends. Okay, I hadn't started to build a new circle of friends or a new circle of influence yet. I was still mainly hanging around with my friends, and I absolutely love those people. Right, they're amazing, amazing people, but all of them were making the traditional 65, 75K a year, 45K a year as an engineer or whatever it was out of school, and they're all still amazing friends today. But I wasn't able to glean from them things that I needed to be able to increase my ambitions to serve more people. So when we were serving the people we were serving in that previous company, I was kind of capped out. I didn't really have these big ambitions to serve more. So I completely lost my motivation in 2011 or so because I didn't need anything else. Okay, we had bought a home in Roseburg. We'd since moved to Roseburg. We bought a nice home. It wasn't crazy nice. It was a $270,000 home at that time. It's probably worth $350,000 now. We sold that a number of years ago. We had a chance to get a couple vehicles. One of them we paid cash for, and the other, we had payments on. We didn't really have any debt. My wife had a good job at that point. Guys, we didn't need any more, truthfully. Okay, we went on some trips. We were starting to have our first children in 2010, and we didn't really need more. And so I lost my way. I was asking myself, why am I getting up to work to do this work? What is it that I even want? And I would start to avoid work because I didn't need a lot more money in that moment. And it led to a life and existence where I despised entrepreneurship. I despised my business. I despised this vehicle that got me where I wanted to go. And that vehicle in my mind now was running me, and it was taking me where it wanted to go. It wasn't taking me where I thought I wanted to go. I wasn't clear why I wanted to go anymore. Okay. So in 2012, I went through that big mindset journey I've talked about a ton in these podcast episodes. I discovered and created my energy audit process. I joined my first mastermind in 2012, wrote the big check to get around the right people, to get around the right proximity of people. And those people I started to see are serving people at a greater level. They're helping people even more. They're changing people's lives at a greater level. And you know what? They're making a bunch more money doing it. They're donating to charities. I remember hopping on with a guy named Nick Nanton in 2011. And Nick Nanton is now a guy who publishes. He's a movie guy. He's a movie producer. He's made so many movies that have been nominated for Emmys and other things like that. He's won an Oscar or two for short form documentaries. He's an amazing dude. I remember hopping on a call with him in 2011. I actually I interviewed him for a podcast that I did not have because I wanted to meet him and talk with him. And I remember he was auditioning for, and he ended up turning down. They offered him to go on the show Undercover Boss. And Undercover Boss, they do make a requirement that you need to donate at least $50,000. Not donate, but you need to pony up 50 grand to be able to do whatever for your employees, right? To give some scholarships and give some raises and do whatever as part of the TV show. And I remember talking with Nick, and he's like, "Yeah, that wasn't the problem for me." He started kind of saying why he didn't end up doing the show. He goes, "Man, I donate so much more than 50 grand a year already," and da 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 da. And he does. He at that time he was donating several $100,000 a year to causes that truly mattered. And I'm like, man, I made some money for my family. We were able to get our backs off from against the wall. But man, I don't really know that I'm really serving people too awfully well. And that's what God's calling me to do. He's calling me to serve, not be served, right? And so I asked myself, what does serving other people look like? Where am I called to serve? Who am I called to serve? And in that moment, I realized I'm called to serve people just like me, people who are entrepreneurs, who are going through similar things that I've gone through and got trapped in their businesses. And I want to be able to help relieve entrepreneurs of that pressure, to be able to give you that vision again, that excitement again for your business, so you don't feel trapped in your own business and give up like I was going to give up. I want to be able to use my business to fuel my community, to fund amazing causes for people that truly have needs in their world. Okay, maybe I can't solve everyone's needs, but you know what? I can grow a business that does amazing things and makes a lot of money, that helps a bunch of people make their needs a little bit less painful. Okay, we're one of the biggest fundraisers for the Roseburg Food Bank here in town. We donate money every single quarter. We don't ask for thanks. We don't publish it in the newspaper like so many other people in town publish their big gives. We're probably one of the biggest donors in Roseburg that goes under the radar, because we never do press releases on it. We never do any of that stuff, because I'm out here building a business to help people build lives of freedom and impact. Okay, so that increased my wants. That's where I shifted into something new. I said, okay, you know what? I don't need a business that does more. I want a business that does more. I want a business now that makes more money. Let's see if we can't grow a new business, a new way. And that's when Carrot came to be. And that's when every single year I said, well, can we do more? Can we be more? Can we master this market? Can we master this product? Can we provide an amazing experience? Can we be a company that people compare to Disney and Chick-fil-A and say, man, people should be learning from you guys? And that's what we set out to do. Okay, we didn't have a need to do that. I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that because I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to show people that you could do business differently and still have it be insanely profitable. I wanted to show people that you can build a business in rural Oregon that's one of the fastest growing companies in America. You don't have to move to a town like Portland. I'm so glad I did not move to Portland. You don't have to do those things. So that's what kicked in my want. So now, fast forward a few more years. Okay, we had this new want, or I had this new want. Business started to build. We hit the Inc. 5,000 list 5 years in a row. And we got to my someday goals. Okay, I remember writing down, man, it'd be amazing to get to 1 million a year someday, and 3 million a year someday. We'd hit those goals, and my motivation started to wane again. Right around the $1 million mark, I was making some pretty good money. I wasn't making millions, obviously, myself at that point, but I was making some pretty good money. Was able to kind of upgrade the truck a little bit, and we were able to move into a new house, not a new house, but new to us, and right on the river, just a dream property, dream view. So we got a little bit more of our wants that felt good. We can have more family at our property. That's the thing that drove it for us. It wasn't that we needed a bigger house. It's that we wanted a property that created amazing experiences and memories for our family, for our kids, for their friends, for our community, for our church community. We're like, we want this for those around us and for us to increase enjoyment and joy and to share it with other people. Okay. So around that time, though, I started to get off again. I started to lose vision, started to lose hope a little bit. Do I want to sell the company? Do I want to keep doing this? And the same thing came up. I said, well, what is it that I want? Did I run out of runway on my vision? And is my vision big enough? And do I truly believe in that vision? So I worked hard for a few months going through my vivid vision process, my personal vision story process that we teach in our EPIC program in detail. And out of that, after about 3 months of wrestling with it, I became clear again. And what the next level was and how I could serve those who have needs, and I could serve you guys and gals who have wants. And we can help make this world an even greater place. And we created that vision to 10x the business. And over the next 5 years, we did. We 10x that company for the next 5 years. And I'm going to tell you, when that happened, it was an amazing time to celebrate. But also, when we hit the end of that 5-year vision, I started to have it happen again. It's like, oh man, the same feelings started to creep up again. The same questions of, how long do I want to do this for? Do I want to sell the company? What am I in it for? Man, I have even more money now, and I don't spend a lot of the money. And I have most of all my needs taken care of, and most of all my wants, in the bag already. I don't have a jet or anything. It'd be kind of cool getting one of those someday. But then I had to challenge myself again on that. And that was probably the hardest one, because the further up the income ladders you go, the further up that ladder you go, the more you need to step into truly looking at servanthood. The more you need to step into asking what greatness truly is for you. Greatness for me is not about significance. It's not about my significance. It's not about more people following me so I sound cool and I've got the blue check mark. Greatness for me is not about, hey, everyone look at me. Greatness for me is about service. And so every single time I come up against those challenging moments, I have to ask myself, oh my gosh, did I start to slip into greatness was about significance again? And I think I did. And I've had that happen a couple times, where I slide into this little spot where it's about me again. And if it's about me again, and I'm looking for motivation within me and my own little, in my own brain, then oftentimes you're going to go back to your needs again. I don't need more, so why am I going to work harder again? I don't need more, so why do I want to build this business? So then I have to shift out of my own brain, out of my own needs, and say, what am I put here on earth for? Okay, if we go all the way back in Scripture, Jesus didn't need to die for himself. That's not what he did. Okay, he did it for others. He wanted to fulfill, God's will. That's what he wanted. And so I want to kind of challenge you guys. I want to challenge you guys on this. If you have hit 300,000 or a million or 3 million or 8 million or whatever it is, and you've ran out of that motivation, you're getting distracted. You're at that 3-year turn and burn cycle like we talked about. You're wondering and questioning, do I want to keep doing this? This isn't fun anymore. It's not something I'm enjoying anymore. Then ask yourself, are you in need-based motivation and you're not crazy motivated because you don't have any needs that you've got to get anymore? Yeah, you may think it's cool to get a fancy car. You may think it's cool to get a jet, but you're going, well, I don't need that, right? I was literally even thinking about this on the flight back because I live in Roseburg, and it's an hour and 20 minutes every single time I try to go to the airport in Eugene. Those of you who have been to Carrot Camp know that it's a trek. But we do have a municipal airport in Roseburg, and there's a few people that I know that have jets. They fly their jets in and out of Roseburg. And over the years, I'm like, you know what? I don't need a jet. That just seems like it's excess. That seems like it's I don't know, like, what are people going to think about me with that? Yeah, I don't need a jet. But as I was down there in Scottsdale and around people who are just contributing to the world in an even greater way and spending more time with their family than ever, and being an amazing father or mother, and being an amazing family member or friend, I was looking at it going, one thing that a lot of them have in common that are playing at a high level is they have an integrated life, not a balanced life, an integrated life, which is what I'm always aiming for too. And in order to have that integrated life, oftentimes their families are going with them for their big speaking gigs. Their families are going with them and traveling to those places. Oftentimes they're flying really quick over to speak at a thing to get in front of people to impact those people. Then they're flying right back on their jet, and they're able to trim like half a day in travel so they can spend it with family more. And I'm going, you know what? I had completely avoided the conversation in this example about a jet. Now I'm not at a spot right now where I can get a jet, y'all. Okay, I'm not there right now. I could get a jet card. I could go buy a jet if I wanted to, but it'd be a stupid purchase at this point. So I'm not at that spot. And so I was going, you know what though? I can't impact people the way that I want to impact people and have that integrated life with my family if I'm stuck in an airplane in airports all the time. And if I say no to going and traveling down to San Diego to speak at an event because it seems like I'm going to be away from family too much because of what airport travel looks like. But what if instead I could have a jet pick me up at 7 a.m. I fly down there, it takes an hour and a half, 2 hours to get down there. I do my speaking gig, stay for a couple hours. I'm back by 3 p.m. or 4. What if that was the reality? I started to think about that want a little differently. Then I don't need a jet, but you know what? I want one so I can serve more people and live an integrated life more effectively. So if you've been kind of feeling guilt over time, y'all, of chasing new goals when you already have your needs taken care of, and you feel guilt over, do I deserve this? Or why should I need more when I already have this? And when so many other people don't. You don't need more, but you know what? I'm going to challenge you to want more. I'm going to challenge you to want more for serving more people. I'm going to challenge you to want more for creating more experiences for others who maybe don't want that for themselves, but you know what? You can provide that for them, and it's going to be a joy for you too. I'm going to challenge you to want more in this life, because you do deserve it. You do deserve that amazing car that fires you up, as long as it's not to keep up with the Joneses, as long as it's not for the wrong reasons. But if you absolutely love 63 split window vets like I do, and you want to get one, and you know that means you're going to be able to have amazing car rides with your son and with your dad, and you're going to be able to go to car shows with people you love and build more community and trust, get that darn car. Use that car for good. Use that car for yourself and for serving others as well, and use it for others' joy. Okay, guys, so I'm going to wrap this podcast with that. I want you to think about needs versus wants. And if you're at a spot where you already have your needs taken care of, and you're kind of challenged a little bit with what's next, how do I think about life differently, motivation differently? I'm going to challenge you to think about your wants and ask yourself, where are you holding back in life because you don't think you deserve what you want, or you shouldn't have what you want?